listening to We Watch Movies.
I'm Ava.
And I'm Jenna.
And we watch movies. So this week we watched Things Heard and Seen, which was initially released on April 29th of 2021. It's on Netflix. It stars Amanda Seyfried, James Norton, Natalia Dyer, Alex, I can't say that name, I'm sorry. And a bunch of other people. It was certainly a time. It's a horror movie, but more so just like a mildly unsettling movie. I guess it's still horror, but like it wasn't so like blah, you know?
It wasn't slasher paranormal haunting to the max or anything. It was just like, yep, there are ghosts. People get murdered eventually. House is haunted, deal with it.
Yeah, the only thing is, it just kind of turned out to be pretty basic of a storyline, very similar to, like The Shining, or I think Amityville Horror. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I feel like that's what I'm remembering. But like, there's been so many movies where like this man and his wife and their kid move out to this place that turns out to be haunted, and then the guy goes psycho and tries to kill his family. And like, it was kind of disappointing because there were several different more interesting directions that I thought they could have taken the movie, that I picked up on through watching it, and they just never followed up on those potential plot lines, which was honestly sad, because maybe if they had done something a little bit more unique, they wouldn't have gotten a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. But they did have some interesting concepts. Just that sometimes they took the interesting concepts a little bit too far, and just like, there's a whole time. It's a roller coaster ride of a movie. And yeah, so let's just like get into it. Jenna, what were your initial reactions?
3 thoughts are going through my head right now. 1, movie would have been better off following Justine. I won't elaborate right now. Number 2, one of the main musical motifs sounded a lot like, I'm pretty sure it's the one from Halloween. I don't know, I haven't seen that movie, but whoever the killer is in Halloween, the musical motif in this movie of like spooky stuff happening was almost like the same. It was really distracting because it reminded me of a movie I haven't even watched yet. Number 3, I watched the first hour one night, came back the next night to watch the other hour, and I was like, is this the same movie? And it was boring in the first act, didn't really do a whole lot in a logical manner, and then the second hour was all the plot. And I didn't know where we made all these connections, because they didn't make any connections from the first hour, so it was an interesting time.
Okay, hang on. The musical motif. Are you talking about the piano song?
Not like the Lacrimosa.
Okay, because I know they kept playing that. I didn't really pick up on anything very Halloween-y.
It just sounded like what I think it's Halloween. It wasn't. It was weird.
Did that thing?
Like, yeah, like, maybe, I don't know, just, like, it sounded like something else, and it was just really distracting every time it came on, because instead of, like, frightening me or whatever, I was just like, what does this sound like? I don't know, but this is weird.
So, there are two directions. I know you said it should have followed Justine. That was not one of the directions I had imagined that would have made this movie better, but I had 2 thoughts. So, the first one was, my first thought was maybe it would have been cooler if the ghosts in the house weren't actually ghosts and they were actually the boys who used to live there, just being psycho humans, because honestly, that's one of the scariest things that like paranormal movies can do is be like, haha, it wasn't paranormal the whole time, it was just psychos. So that was one thought that I had, and then the other one was just they had this concept of these ghosts who weren't evil. Like she had this awesome ghost sidekick, and I was thinking it would have been cooler if the husband was just crazy on his own and the ghost like helped Catherine defeat him or something, rather than like the mean ghosts winning or whatever. I don't know. I thought that would have been cooler, more satisfying as well. But yeah, those are
that, like, the biggest problem with this movie was that it always got a little muddled. Like in the beginning, I feel like it was still trying to figure out what it actually wanted to do and say. So it did a lot of things, but then all of the important stuff, to me anyway, it felt like it happened off screen. Like all of a sudden Catherine would show up like, I have all of this research, and I would be like, where did you get all of this research, Catherine? That's what I wanted to see, but that could have just been me as well.
Wait, but they showed her researching.
Yeah, but I remember there was like one piece of information in particular that like felt like it came out of nowhere, because they do like show her researching, but then like I feel like the stuff she was researching never matched up with the stuff that she actually presented to other people.
Yeah. Another thing, so Natalia Dyer's character, I love Natalia Dyer. I love some of like the stuff that she's been in. Nancy is my favorite character on Stranger Things. Or maybe it's Nancy and Steve. I like both of them. I love her work in Yes God Yes. That's a good movie. But I like, and it's not anything bad to do with her in this movie. It's just that her character was so incredibly unnecessary. Like, we knew that Mr. Clare was a skeeve ball. Like, there was plenty of evidence for that. Him just going right out of the gate and hitting on this, like, college girl, like, immediately in front of his child. I mean, yeah, it really cements the kind of guy he was, but that kind of came out of left field in the situation that they were in at the time in the movie. But also, it's just, like, it was so... That whole plot line, that whole subplot of, like, his relationship with her was just so dumb and just, like, an afterthought. It's like, it could have been something if they tried harder, but then it just, like, wasn't, and I was like, okay. So that bothered me.
Yeah, like, if they wanted to go the route of showing that he was a sleaze ball, I guess, they could have just not made like Natalia Dyer's character like an actual character, or they actually like give her character a purpose beyond that. But they were kind of stuck in the middle, so like we introduce this character, but then she just disappears for a while when she's not relevant, and it's like, okay, what was the point?
Yeah, and I mean, I liked her in her first scene because she seemed like this strong-willed, independent woman, and like she knew what he was doing, and I thought that her purpose was to tell Eddie that Mr. Clare was cheating on Mrs. Clare. I thought that was what was gonna be. I didn't think she was actually gonna like go for him. That like I thought that, I mean, I guess they tried to put in a little bit of like, oh, she's attracted to guys who are bad for her, but like, and then I didn't feel bad for her when she had that whole like breakdown about like how he's like a douchebag. Like, I didn't feel bad for her because she knew that he was, and she didn't care. And like, it just, there was no reason for me to care about her character, and like, her entire subplot was just unnecessary. And yeah, I didn't like any of the affair subplots in any of this. I didn't like Catherine with Eddie either, because Eddie I mean, they both Eddie and Willis are so much younger than the Claires.
I know, I hated, like, I saw where it was going, like, really quickly, and I was like, no, do not give both of these characters a fair plot with people that are much younger than them. Like, that, like, was definitely, like, a turn-off for me. I was like, why? There's no reason for it.
She should have been, like, it should have been, like, an almost, like, a mother-son relationship, not like, a romantic relationship.
Yeah, like, like, Hollywood, please, not every relationship between two people of like the opposite sex have to be romantic. Like, you really don't need to do it.
Like, how would Ella feel when she finds out that her new best pal is kissing her son? That's kind of messed up.
Yeah, it was just weird, and like it felt forced. And it was just weird to watch them interact in other scenes because, like, I knew it was coming. But it's like, I want to like these characters and the relationship they have currently, but it's just like, I know you're gonna do something, and I don't want it.
Yeah, it's just... And then I feel like Cole and Franny were just there, existing the whole time. Not to mention, poor Franny with that lamp. That lamp is inherently creepy. You don't give a kid a lamp like that. Like, who wants... I mean, I know that that's probably not the part... Not where you thought I was going with the whole poor Franny. But, who gives their kid a clown lamp as a nightlight? Nightlights are supposed to be comforting. They're not supposed to scare the kid more. And I know that it was scary because the lamp was flickering or whatever, but it's a clown lamp. What? You don't give a kid a freaking clown lamp and expect them to sleep well at night. I'm sorry, but you don't.
Yeah, there were just a lot of in-world things in this movie too, where I was like, but why are we doing this? Like, just things did not always make sense in this movie, and I couldn't tell if that was just, like, an oversight or just, like, really bad writing.
I did think that in terms of their worlds, their locations and everything were really nice. And like well developed in terms of like the set design, or production design and everything. I think that was really good. In the case where like every location they went to, this is gonna sound weird, but every location that they were in, I knew how it would smell. Does that make sense? Or is that just a weird thing for me to say?
But I can't say that I relate.
But like I knew, like, I knew how it would smell. Cause like, I don't know, their house was like old and that's not a good way of describing smell. But like I knew what their house would smell like. I knew what Justine's house would smell like. I knew what the college would smell like. I knew what the boat would smell like. I knew what the horse farm would smell like. I literally knew. I knew how the historical society would smell. All this stuff, I knew how it would smell, and I didn't think that production design could do that. But it was like smell-o-vision existed for a second there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't relate, but I agree. Like, I remember, like, pretty early on in this movie, I was like, you see, I like this movie when there are no people in shot.
Oh, sick burn. It's just, see, this movie, it had good bones, like their house did. Yeah, look at these bones. Except, and it also had, like, a just generally charismatic cast, I guess. It's just, it tried to do a lot of things. It tried to be profound in a lot of ways. And it just kind of tanked when it did that. It didn't, I don't think it had super stellar effects for the ghosts, which there are a lot of ways you can do that are better.
No,
It kind of
they
just
did not.
it kind of just looked like an episode of Supernatural, and like no hate on Supernatural because if you know me, you know I'm obsessed with Supernatural. But like Supernatural can get away with their ghosts looking campy because like it's a TV show. It doesn't have a ton of budget for each individual episode. It's not WandaVision here. But like this is a whole movie and the ghosts were not they didn't have a whole ton of screen time. So I feel like they could have just devoted a little bit more into, making the ghost look not stupid. I don't know. It looked really weird. But
Yeah, the ghosts looked really bad. I'm glad that you brought that up because sometimes I don't think things look great, but then like other people are like, nah, it was fine. But I agree, the ghosts were like distractingly bad. Like I couldn't even tell like how exactly they had gone about doing the ghosts. Like they were just bad. If you haven't seen this movie, I don't think you can understand just how wrong the ghosts look.
And it was only the one ghost, too. Like, they didn't have a bunch of ghosts. I mean, they said that there were two, but we only heard the second one. But, like...
Yeah. If you're gonna make a movie about ghosts, and you're gonna show the ghosts, you have to do a good job of showing the ghosts, because that's kind of why people are watching your movie.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just... I had an issue with that. I had a lot of issues with this movie, and like they tried to what, make the gates of hell at the end, but like it just kind of looked like a pretty awesome sunset, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, like the gates of hell did not look too bad. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I don't like boats, and I don't like the open sea, so I mean, not necessarily appealing to me. But I mean, hey, if you're into it,
yeah.
Didn't look too bad.
I don't know. They had this whole, like, I guess theology or mythology, I don't know, surrounding this movie. I don't know if they made it up or if it's based on real life. Because I'm not well versed in art history. And, what was the guy that they kept talking about?
That is bold of you to think I remember that.
Okay. But there's this, like, guy that they kept talking about who's, like, who had beliefs that, like, oh, death is it's like a passing on to another life, or, like, a lot of stuff. And, like, oh, goodness prevails over evil, and yeah, ghosts are cool. And stuff like that. And they had some interesting thoughts. I will give them that. There were some things that they talked about that I was like, huh, that's interesting. That's a cool way of thinking about that. But they tried very desperately to be profound a lot of the time. And then, like, at the end, they were really just, like, pushing their... I don't want to say agenda, but they were pushing their agenda to, like, get you to think that it was this amazing thing, this amazing statement about life and death and good and evil and stuff. And I don't know. I feel like they could have said a lot more if they didn't kill off Catherine. And, like I said, if they made it so that there was just Ella the ghost, who was Catherine's friend, who helps her, like, overcome her abuser, I feel like that would have said... That would have made a much more, effective statement, I guess, rather than having... him just randomly get in a boat and sail into the gates of hell for some reason.
Yeah, because the gates of hell thing, like, I mean, I guess you want to do it for the aesthetic or whatever, but at the same time, like, the two ghosts, because then Catherine, like, joins the other ghosts or whatever, they're kind of like, oh, like, justice is finally gonna get served, because, like, Justine didn't die. She woke up and she was like talking to the police or whatever. And I was like, well, then why wasn't that your final shot? Instead of having this guy go out in the boat and die. Like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it would have been like a more satisfying, like, sure, like, went into the gates of hell. But I mean, like, I think it would have been like more like, oh, like, justice has been served if like that was the final note you left it on. Or, like you said, just don't kill Catherine, have like that cycle of like violence like end with her, not like literally end with her.
I have 3 things. The first thing is, do we even know why he got in that boat?
I mean, the power of Christ compelled him, I guess.
Okay.
I can't believe I just said that.
The second thing is, do you think they named her Justine because it's only 1 letter off from justice?
You know, I didn't think of that until I was just saying what I just said about her. I was like, wait, Justine Justice? So yeah, probably.
And my third thing is, if they did end it with him getting, like, arrested because Justine was able to, like, get justice for Catherine's death or whatever, that would have been very Promising Young Woman-esque, and I would have had an issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not saying it would have been perfect, which is why, like, I didn't say, like, show them, like, actually arresting him, but, like, if they just left it, like, she's talking to the police, and, like, whether or not, like, he actually gets, like, carted off to jail, or, like, maybe he does escape, or, like, whatever. I just kind of like the idea that, like, someone is telling the story, and, like,
yeah,
we don't know, like, it's not his story anymore, it's, like,
yeah, it's just
the story of the people who died.
There are so many horror movies where the ghosts, like, take over the husband's mind and make him more of a dirtbag than he already is, right? But this movie brought up this idea of a victim ghost, instead of being vengeful and evil or whatever, being helpful and being kind to this woman. And I feel like a story about that ghost helping Catherine to defeat George, whether that's get him arrested or leave him or something like that, that would have been a lot more satisfying and more interesting just as a viewer.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, Ella did a lot of fun things throughout the course of the movie, so one of the character traits that Catherine had was she had bulimia, and was it bulimia or anorexia or some mix of the two?
I don't think they ever explicitly said it.
She has an eating disorder, and she was weighing herself, and she was feeling bad about herself, and then Ella the ghost smashed the scale and was like, "Girl, you're perfect." And then there was this part where George was annoying Catherine while she was in the bathroom trying to make herself throw up, and she was like, "Oh my god, George, leave me alone." And then Ella was just like, "Gotta close this door," and locked him out. Which, like, I mean, and it just, they could have, like, they just used her for quirky antics. And then at the end, I thought that she was gonna help Catherine. And I don't understand what was going on, because she was like, "Oh, I'll help you, Catherine." But Catherine still died. Like, she didn't do much. She didn't really actually help Catherine. Which annoyed me a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like Catherine, like, isn't actually dead or something, but it was like, nope, she's dead. And it's like, well, what was all of that? So that was pretty unsatisfying.
Yeah, and then just, like, I don't know, it just like bothered me that they didn't do more with that, because they made a whole big deal about this and a big deal about Ella as a ghost, and then all of a sudden the actual ghost, who's like the more powerful one, is like this random guy. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing of, like, having, like, the other ghost taking over the husband, I feel like with a story like this, and with a lot of horror, some of the scariest things are real things. And especially when you have a supernatural story where there is a ghost, if you have your main antagonizing force be something real, aka a sleazeball of a guy who your main character is married to, and he does all of these horrible things to different people, I feel like that's scarier than being like, oh, he's possessed.
Yeah.
Because sure, he did other bad things that we know of while not under the influence of a ghost. That all happens like off screen. So I feel like if it was just Catherine working together with this ghost to just deal with her abuser, I guess, that would have, I feel like, been a more effective movie, because that's something that people can sometimes relate to, and just having a normal quote-unquote person instead of a ghost be your villain.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I don't know, it's just also just a question of which movies have been made already. Because there've just, I think I mentioned this already, but there have been so many movies where the ghost messes with the husband's mind, like The Shining or Amityville. I hope Amityville is an accurate example, because, like I said, I haven't seen that in a long time. But like, it's been done before, you know. And then, but I don't think I can think of a movie where there was a ghost who was in favor of women empowerment and helped our protagonist defeat domestic abuse. That's an interesting concept I've never seen before. But I guess Hollywood just decided differently today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And I'm not saying, like, if there's one movie that's done this thing before, no other movie can ever do, like, that kind of thing again. Because we all have different ideas for stories, and of course some experiences are fairly universal, so you're going to have them. But at the same time, you have to think, like, is what I'm telling, like, worth it? And am I telling this in the best way? Because if you're just gonna muddle things, then of course you're gonna have people making comparisons like us, saying, oh, you have this, but you have this other thing that gets the same point across in a much better way. So, this movie is a little frustrating. I haven't seen the movies you're talking about, so this is kind of my first exposure, but even I could tell that they were kind of muddled with what they were trying to do, and I was even thinking of better ways they could have done it that might have been more original too.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely plenty of ways that a movie can take a story and make something similar, but still make it like something new. Unless you're doing a remake, in which case, like, you still need to make it new, but it's like the same story. But I mean, they would already have done that with The Family Moves to a New House and It's Haunted. They would have already put a spin on that. Like, you know, it just, family moves to a new house and it's haunted, and the man becomes abusive to his wife because a ghost perverts his mind and attacks her with an axe. Is so utterly overdone. It's insane. Like, the amount of axemen in paranormal movies is kind of a lot. But like, I don't know, I get that they were trying to do something different with like the art and stuff, but it's just, they tried to put too much, I think, in, and they tried to do too many different things. And then some things didn't get executed well and were just kind of useless, and then other things were just cliche. And I feel like they really just needed to focus in on like one or two of these main concepts and really make them good, rather than doing, you know, ghosts, affairs, abuse, murder, forgery, art history, women empowerment, orphans, I don't know. But like, oh.
Yeah, it was just a very unwieldy movie.
They tried to tried to make some. They were like, oh my god, this is gonna be so cool. We're gonna do all this stuff, and then like it just didn't. I just don't think it worked out the way that they wanted it to.
Yeah, and I mean, I can appreciate the effort and, like, you know, you tried, sticker, there you go. But at the same time, I didn't like this movie because it wasn't very good. Sorry.
And I feel like Amanda Seyfried is a lot better than this movie. Like, she was just up for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, and then there's this, which I don't think any of the bad stuff came from her as an actress. I think that it just all came from the writing, and the fact that the writing was, like, not good. I don't know, I mean, like, then it comes down to, like, because writing can do so much, because, like, if you compare the performance in this to, like, her performance in, like, Mean Girls, right? I mean, it's, like, they're not comparable in terms of, like, emotional complexity, but Mean Girls is, like, a staple. It's, like, it's basically a classic. Everybody loves Mean Girls and everything, and everybody loves Karen and would die for her. But like, Catherine just kind of got the short end of the stick, really.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Have you seen Mean Girls
yet? I don't... What do you think the answer to that is, Ava?
It got an 84 on Rotten Tomatoes.
When are you gonna make that Google Classroom for me? I will literally go back through after APs are done and re-listen to our podcast and find all my homework assignments. But you have to make the Google Classroom.
I will do that. You have my word.
You know what I know her from? She was in Mamma Mia. Okay, I was wondering why she looked
She was
familiar.
also in Mank. That's where her Oscar nom came from.
Yep, that's right.
I didn't see Mank. I watched your video on Mank. I didn't see Mank.
You should watch it. It was pretty good.
I know I should. I've been trying to catch up on the Oscar noms from this year because I didn't watch all of them. Next year, I've made an admission to watch like all of the big noms, because I want to be able to like actually react to the Oscars next year without like having really bad reactions. So I just watched Sound of Metal, really good. Go watch it. But that's not the movie we're supposed to be talking about right now. But you know what? You know what this movie did talk about? It brought up Calvinists, which is a religion that I came across in my studying for the APUSH exam, and I was like, whoa, APUSH. And then I got sad because our exam is tomorrow, which is also why this episode is probably going to be up on a Thursday or a Friday, depending on how dead I am inside after the test tomorrow.
What religion did you say? It didn't come through on my end.
Oh, Calvinists?
Oh yeah, I remember that from Hero.
Yes.
Yeah.
He got mad at his wife. And then was like, "You are damned." But then actually he's the one who was damned. I think they did a really good job of making George unlikable.
From like the get-go, he was unlikable.
But like, I really don't think that they needed the whole possession thing, which I've said before, but like, I think it was really in like the whole forged recommendation letter and like the stealing his cousin's artwork and all this stuff. I don't know if they meant to imply that he murdered his cousin, or not, but I think that they came up with some pretty creative ways to make him suck. Because at first it seemed like a pretty decently healthy relationship compared to some others that I've seen, in like movies and such. which is also why when he just started hitting on Willis, it just kind of came out of nowhere, because I thought that he actually liked his wife.
Yeah.
But they did a really good job of making him suck as a person. And, like, the way that he would talk to his wife every once in a while, he would say, like, some really bad things. And it's like, I think they did a really good job at doing that. But then when they added in the ghost stuff, it just kind of made me lose a bit of respect for that. You know? It was kind of a cop-out.
Yeah, this movie was like, yeah, we want to do this thing. And I was like, okay, but that's not going to work well with your other thing. And then they did it anyway.
Yeah.
I was like, well, how'd that work for you?
There's just like a lot of places where this movie was like so close. They almost got it. And then it just like me. And you know, I was going into this movie, I had seen the Rotten Tomatoes score, but I was taking it with a grain of salt, because horror movies always do poorly on the Rotten Tomatoes score. Like, I mean, some of them have gotten good scores, but most of the time, they score really lowly. Lowly? Is lowly an adverb? Is that a word?
I think
like
so.
An actual.
I think I've heard lowly before. I am but a low. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
lowly is an adjective, but like an adverb. Can you use it like that? Like they scored lowly.
I'm gonna say so.
Or well, they scored poorly on the Rotten Tomatoes score. Like, okay, the horror movies that I saw in theaters before the pandemic, the two ones that I remember seeing 3 in the times going up to the pandemic. One was The Turning, which I think got like I can actually look these up. So The Turning got a 13%, and that movie made me so mad because they got me to sit there for like an hour and 40 minutes. I sat in that theater and there was no plot. It was just no plot, and that's why it made me so mad. Anyways, the next one I saw was Gretel and Hansel. That one got a 64%, so it scored higher than this one. I didn't like it though. It was too en lam for my taste. And then there was Invisible Man, or The Invisible Man. That one got a 91%. That one's really good. So those were the 3 that I saw in theaters, like in the early days of 2020-ish. And I only liked one of them. So yeah, but like in general, it's this doesn't really make my point about Rotten Tomatoes because one of them scored so highly. But like oftentimes if you're going to see a horror movie, it's gonna do worse on the Rotten Tomatoes score than like if it were a different kind of movie. Mostly than if it were a drama. Rotten Tomatoes loves dramas, I think. Romances tend to do poorly. Horror movies, some comedies, I guess. I feel like there are some comedies that do really well. But it's like, cause I don't know. I think my theory about why horror movies are so polarizing with critics is because like everybody gets scared by different things. So like there's not like one thing that's inherently scary to somebody, you know? Cause like for one person, they could be absolutely horrified of a spider. That's like me. But then another person could be horrified by the concept of just walking home alone, which I know applies to a lot of people. But like if you made a horror movie about a spider, or if you made a horror movie about walking home alone, I don't know if you could make a whole movie out of that, but bear with me here. It would be like different people would get freaked out by those movies. You know, some people are freaked out by gore, and so if they like getting freaked out, they'll flock to the Saw movies. And some people are more like psychological horror, which I guess Silence of the Lambs, maybe? I don't know. I haven't seen that movie. I don't know why I'm making a recommendation based on a movie that I haven't seen, but it just
Get Out. There. That's psychological horror.
But yeah, so
And I have seen that movie.
Get Out.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that one. I don't see a lot of horror movies. But yeah. So like there are I feel like because it's hard to grade a horror movie when its purpose is to be horrifying. But if you're not horrified by the content in the horror movie, it's not really going to be a good horror movie for you. You know?
Yeah, and I'm kind of learning that too as I'm going through my list, which I'm still doing that. I just had to take a break because APs. I haven't been watching anything. But that's what I'm kind of realizing too, because like the ones that I have seen so far, I feel like I've enjoyed them for different reasons. And I haven't seen one that like I really disliked yet, but there are definitely moments where like some things scare me more than other things, and I'm like, well, I'm kind of learning that just because something doesn't scare me doesn't mean that it's bad, unless sometimes it really just is that it's pretty bad. But it's more so that we all have different interpretations of what something horrible can be. So like even if the characters are in a situation I'm like, oh well, this isn't that bad, for someone else it could be like the worst thing ever. So that's an interesting thing that I'm learning.
Yeah, but then in the parts of your horror movie that aren't the scary bits, like basic rules of character development and story writing still apply. So it's like, I feel like a horror movie is basically like a drama, but with jump scares. So you're taking like, so instead of just making something dramatic, you're taking a terrifying concept and building a drama around that, and with the goal of scaring the audience. And so like your characters still need to be likable if you want us to not root for their death. If you want us to go, don't go into the basement, you know, you gotta make us like the character enough to not want them to go into the basement. Because honestly, if in this movie, I would not mind if George went into the basement. I'd be like, oh yeah, you should definitely go into the basement, George. Like that's a good idea for you. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the worst kinds of horror movies are the ones that forget about like plot, character, conflict, theme, setting. Yeah, these are the 5 things. Sorry, vocabulary came out. But no, like, yeah, plot, character, conflict, theme, and setting. Like, some movies just don't do all of that. Like I said, The Turning, so bad because there wasn't a plot. The characters, like, I didn't care about any of them. I didn't really know what the conflict was. There was a lot of setting. It was very visibly beautiful. But like, they didn't even have a theme. You know, it was just, they just tried to make things that were generally unsettling. And it just sucked because you can't make a movie without just basic storytelling pieces, you know? And even if you make the scariest monster in existence, right, with the scariest concept, like this terrifying monster that would be universally horrifying to anybody who looked at it, right? You make that monster and you don't give it a good story and you don't put it in a good situation to be watched by people, no matter how scary that monster is. Nobody wants to, like, I mean, everybody wants to be scared when they go into a horror movie, but they don't just want to be scared, they want to be entertained, you know?
Yeah, like, when I watch a movie, like, if you don't have, like, a good plot and good characters, like, I need to like the characters I'm watching a movie for, or else I just won't care. And if you're watching a horror movie, you want to care, because otherwise, things are a little less scary, because sure, you might be unsettled because, oh, loud noises and people are dying, but if you don't care, there's really no reason to be scared, because the characters are kind of a surrogate for the audience. So if the audience doesn't care about the characters, they don't care about their fate. So if you kill the characters but the audience doesn't care, there's no point. That's frustrating.
Yeah, you should just put The Turning on your list and sit through the pain of watching Finn Wolfhard stare angstily at the camera for a little while. It was just like a sequence of unrelated scares and then an ending that made no sense and was never explained.
I do have to replace Frankenstein with something.
I thought you were, did you add Coraline yet?
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna replace it with. Yeah, I'll do Coraline instead. I think that's a better
Coraline
idea.
is so good. I love Coraline. Coraline is so freaky, and like it wouldn't. I don't know if it would be more freaky if it was in a different like style, like if it was a different animation or like a different type of thing. I don't think it would be, honestly. It's just there's something about the claymation, and there's just something about the way that Coraline is made that just freaks you out. And it's like I saw one of the reviews for this movie that said that it was able to build up a general sense of malaise. Do you know what malaise is?
I'm gonna look it up. I'm familiar with it, but I like looking at words
Okay.
and picking them.
Well, malaise is like a general sense of like unsettledness.
Yeah.
And like just unhappiness and stuff, like just it's just unsettling, you know? And I think there's a lot of that in the world building of Coraline, at least in one of the worlds, and then in parts of the other world, you know, like towards the end. And I just think that they built up this world with characters that you cared about, and like such an interest, like such a great concept and everything. And I think it's for kids, technically, I guess, maybe. But honestly, I think that I don't know if it would be considered 100% a horror movie, but I think that Coraline might be my favorite horror movie, to be honest, because it's freaky and it's really well developed, and it has a good plot. It has because like, I mean, there's so many horror movies that are just like, oh, character needs to run away from bad guy, you know, but like they have a good story, and like it's just unlike anything else that you'll ever see. So if you haven't seen Coraline yet, go watch it. Jenna, you're legally obligated to because of your association with me, so
Gotcha.
but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if people are saying this movie has a general feeling of malaise, like, sure, I guess, but at the same time, malaise also comes from, like, you don't necessarily know what's causing that discomfort, or, like, in the case of Coraline, like, it might be kind of obvious why you're uncomfortable, but at the same time, from what I have heard about it from you, like, there's also, like, some other stuff going on, but in the case of this movie, like, everybody knows there are ghosts. Like, halfway through this movie, they're doing, like, what's it called?
Orb?
A seance.
Oh.
They're doing, like, a seance, and, like, a ghost shows up. So, like, no one doesn't think this house is haunted. So, I feel like it's too obvious to be malaise in this movie.
Yeah, these are very bold ghosts. Not to mention the, like, bright white orbs that were just floating around like, I'm a ghost. They did have, there was this one part that was pretty spooky. She walked past a doorway and the ghost was just, like, standing there. That freaked me out at first. I didn't understand the point of the nightmare sequence with the sink drain and, like, the, embryo that she pulled out or something.
Was it a cow embryo?
I don't know what a cow embryo looks like, so I couldn't tell you.
I mean, I don't know, I'm not gonna look it up, but because I remember they were talking about, like, what one of the original murderers did, and, like, how they killed all the cows, so I was like, is that supposed to be, like, a cow? But I have no idea.
Yeah,
And I really hate that how I said that, because now my brain is like, look up what a cow embryo looks like, and I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, there was just, like, I mean, it just, it was so unconnected from anything else, you know? And I mean, that was one of my main problems with, like, The Turning. It's just, like, a whole bunch of just disconnected things. I don't know, it's weird. It's just like, make your scares mean something when you use them. You know, there is something that has really good scares is what is it? The remake of Halloween, or not remake, reboot, I guess. I think it was like 2018. That freaked me the heck out, my dude. Like, there's this one scene. Have you seen that one? Is that on your list?
I think I have the original on my list.
Okay, so they like they had this what was this? Oh yeah, they have this scene where these characters go to the bathroom at this gas station, and Michael Myers has escaped, and obviously killer finds at gas station while this girl is peeing, and so she's in this stall, and he doesn't start by like banging on the door or anything, but like the first thing he does is he like reaches his hand over the stall door and drops a bunch of human teeth into it. When I tell you, rest stop bathrooms have freaked me the heck out ever since. My god, that it's just, there are so many like really creative scares in that movie that are very effective and relevant to the story. Like, dream scares, boo, I hate them. They're a cop-out. These kinds of scares, they were so good. I loved that movie. That was really good. I don't know if it was, like, actually, like, I don't know what people thought of it. I just know that I liked it. I think what did it get? It got 79 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's pretty good.
Oh, I was gonna say 80.
Well, we can round up. Yeah, so you should watch both of them because it's very good.
I mean, I'm not against it, but like, I do have to get this video out at some point, Ava. I can't just keep adding movies to the list.
Yeah, eventually. But yeah, so that's I guess that's my 2 cents on horror. So
I don't think I have 2 cents, but I do have 1, and I think I already said it in this video.
Anyways, I think this is a good stopping point. I'm gonna go review for APUSH exam tomorrow.
Me too.
I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us. If you're on YouTube, give us a like, comment, and subscribe and stuff, because we would really appreciate it. If you're on another platform, you can probably follow us on whatever platform you're listening on. And you can go to our YouTube and like, comment, and subscribe if you use YouTube. We post new videos most every Sunday, except for like when you're me and you like just kind of skip a week because you're dead inside. That's fine. I should have a video out this weekend. So that's cool. And yeah, we post a new episode here every Wednesday. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok, we post like highlights, and then on Instagram, we post like reminders when we have a new episode up that you can go check out, because like, yeah, like go check out our new episodes of the podcast. I'm sorry, I should probably stop talking. Jenna, do you have anything to add?
I'm never gonna think about this movie again. I don't think, other than the wandering thought of what a cow embryo looks like.
I actually looked it up, and it might have been a cow embryo. I don't know. It just kind of...
Yeah, because I mean, I know what like a whale embryo looks like, and it kind of looks like a chicken nugget. So it could have been it.
Well, like, it doesn't... I looked up things heard and seed cow embryo, and it didn't really... This is okay. If you are interested in what this embryo thing was, definitely go on your own Google rabbit hole if you want. But yeah, that's all, folks. Okay, bye.